Agile teamwork with design thinking.
The term design thinking first appeared almost 100 years ago. It was mentioned in the literature on emerging industrial design and modern architecture. However, the term only acquired its current concrete meaning in the early 1990s. A design agency called IDEO from Silicon Valley associated the term with a concrete process, and this process describes chronologically a special working method suitable for open-ended innovation projects. Innovation is the primary goal, that is to emerge from the process. And an innovation always has three characteristics that define an outcome as an innovation. The first characteristic of every innovation is that it is made for people and therefore is considered attractive or desirable by those people. This means that these people also want to use the innovation for themselves, for example, to make their daily lives more pleasant. The second characteristic of every innovation is that it is technologically feasible. So when we talk about innovation, we are not talking about science fiction concepts, but ideas that are already feasible. And the third characteristic is that the innovation creates economic advantages for those who develop it. For example, that it functions as part of a business model. Only when all of these three aspects come together do we speak of an innovation.
We realize there is a lot of money that the government gives for subsidies simply isn't used. And we wondered, why is that so? So why users, potentially end users, don't take the money that's offered literally on their plate. We observed them and we asked them, can you please show us how would you scout for information on how much subsidies you would get from the government in case if you renew your heating? And after 2-3 minutes, we realized that the system of generating this information is just way too complex. So people simply gave up. They opened the website. It was way too many different windows. They had to fill the information. They didn't really feel confident with sharing, or they simply didn't know. And at some point they just said, I'm giving up. I don't even want to have that money because this is way too complicated. We shouldn't forget that not everybody was raised with a computer or with a mobile phone or whatever. So our users are sometimes a little bit older, and we realize that offering them a solution that calculates in basically real time with very easy software could be the solution. And that's basically how our Förderprofi developed. This is our digital product that helps people to realize how much subsidies they would actually get, and also accompanies them until basically the very last mile.
At the App House in Heidelberg, teams of SAP experts, partners and customers work together to develop new products using design thinking.
A recent project that we completed and that we actually also did together with the unit of Boris was called OP 4.1. So it's about the operating room of the future. So there we created a platform, an innovation platform. And I think Industry 4.0, everybody knows, where we connect devices. But in the healthcare environment, this was quite new. So this innovation platform connects devices in the operating room, and it also connects it with the data of the patient, and it makes this data available during the operation to the doctors, to the nurses, and so on. And the interaction with this was also something we had a lot of research. Of course, we went into the operating room and we were part of how the operation goes on. And the interaction, for example, is controlled by voice, because when you are a doctor and you have your hands in the patient, you cannot really move a mouse or do something like that. So it was interacted by voice. Also the platform allowed third parties to create apps for example, suppliers also on, and to provide them as well. And there was a business model around this platform, how to use these services and how to build them automatically. So it was a whole innovation platform that we created. And for this year, we received actually an innovation award for design thinking, because I think it was very crucial at the beginning that we went to this hospital and we involved the doctors, and it was actually quite hard because they were so busy.
The design thinking approach towards innovation is sequential. For example, a team does not try to address all 3 characteristics of the innovation at the same time, but rather one after another. The approach starts with the team trying to find out what kind of problems and needs people actually have and how a new solution addresses them in the best way possible. So, we don't start with the questions of technology or business models, but with people themselves. Why is that specific? Well, what we often experience in teams and in meetings is the exact opposite. New ideas are discussed in a relatively unstructured way. While one part of the team is talking about the benefits for customers, someone else is already busy discussing the technological problems that go along with the idea. And again, someone else immediately raises concerns why the idea cannot be economically attractive. Or even worse, that the idea could cannibalize other projects and products in the portfolio. That way, ideas are quickly talked out of existence, especially ideas that are very novel, usually hardly survive the first meetings because so many open questions remain. There is no question that discussions about profitability and feasibility are important, but timing is crucial. If all discussions take place at the same time, we take the opportunity to think creatively about new solutions for people. Since teams always fall back into these discussions, a process is needed to focus the work first on this one characteristic of innovation. Design thinking provides us with a more than proven design process, and by us, I mean all of us. Not just designers or developers, but teams with different professional backgrounds. The process describes on the one hand how a team actually works together, on the other hand how the exchange with the people for whom the products are intended takes place. Nothing in this process is random, and it's ultimately thanks to this concrete structure that the success of the approach is also clear, because clearly defined processes are generally more connectable in organizations than abstract concepts. As soon as the work in the process practically starts, it then naturally becomes apparent that adjustments will have to be made and that not everything remains so clearly defined. But we'll get to that.